Yes, Craig.
I tell you what, you English.
Us English, yes.
You English.
Yes, good. I'm glad I'm included.
One up yourself every time and getting carried away. Not you in particular, but I mean.
Right, well, you can't just say you English, but not you. That's a very general statement. Who's got carried away?
No, but I've been reading a lot of the journalists, and it's like, you know,
journalists you read.
No. It is the English. A lot of the English media. Oh, and listen, nothing against Lee Carsley. He's came in, he's done what he had to do. We all said he would probably win all the games. He won 5 of them, lost at home to Greece. No harm to him. He's given some youngsters some game time. I understand all that. But if you could have said, you're going to manage England, what teams would you want to play against? You probably had taken Greece even though you lost. You definitely had taken Finland. You definitely had taken Ireland.
What's your point?
My point is that it's like rolling out red carpets here for everybody's done such a wonderful job. This is great. You're in Group B. I mean, gutter football. Well. Ireland are terrible. Finland are terrible. Greece are average. You haven't beaten Spain, Germany, France. You're not in that group, right? Come on, nobody gets carried away more than the English. No wonder north of the border they get so frustrated. Scotland know they're rubbish, right? They know it. But England, they beat the Ireland 5-0 at home, and it's just fantastic. What a job Lee Carsley's done. I mean, come on.
The great thing, Jonathan, about the brilliant job that Lee Carsley has done, and it sets things up lovely now for Thomas Tuchel when he takes over.
Dear.
Yeah, I mean, I find this really weird, the fact that we talked more about Thomas Tuchel almost this week than Lee Carsley, because Thomas Tuchel is the manager of this team, the head coach of this team, and he's not there yet, so the old guy is still there, but he can't wait to go back with the under-21, so he still has to take those games, but we don't really talk about those games because we just can't wait for Thomas Tuchel to be in. I thought this week was messy, and in the end, they win the 2 games. They went to Greece, they won, they didn't play well. That first half, as you said, Dan, was horrendous. And I know they scored 5 with 11 men against 10, and after scoring the first goal on penalty, they scored 3 goals in 5 minutes, which helps massively. I just don't think you should get carried away, or you could get carried away even after the first half that was against Ireland. So he did okay. He obviously had that very tough October month with those suicidal lineup, and then obviously the defeat at home to Greece. But he was never the right man for this job anyway. Even after September, I don't know why some people in England were like, Lee Carsley could be appointed as the England head coach. He never was good enough, really. I'm not sure if he ever wanted that job properly either. So I just can't wait for Tuchel to arrive. And really, Tuchel should have been on the bench in this international break too.
Gareth Southgate, of course, left a legacy of a number of defeats within finals and getting further than any other manager has done for a very long time. But there's been a lot of talk about how he brought the team together, this feeling of togetherness, bonded with the media, brought in these kind of new systems, which Harry Kane was talking about again this week. It takes a long time to build it and maybe not so long to lose it if you're not careful. But I think we are well aware of that. When I was talking about this fragility of this togetherness that Gareth Southgate has built, which I don't quite understand. But you've been there, you've played international football.
I'm not quite sure what Harry Kane's talking about here.
He obviously came out last week and he said that he wasn't happy that people were going back to the club or weren't representing England, and talking about how this strong bond that they've had maybe is in a delicate situation. Thomas Tuchel's got to nurse that. Well,
I read something that he says, I was asked a question at a press conference and I gave an answer. I mean, I don't know where he sits. I didn't see all the quotes. But clearly he felt some players should have turned up and played. I think that's always a dangerous position to be in, whether you're captain or not, because everybody's situation is different. Harry Kane, I mentioned last week, has got quite a nice winter break coming up in Germany. A lot of these other players do not. They may be carrying injuries. They may be more tired. So it's an individual sort of process that each player goes through. Risk and reward for club and country. I don't know what he's talking about in terms of spirit. A manager comes in, Thomas Tuchel's not going to come in. You're working together every 2 or 3 months. The spirit of a dressing room is much more difficult to manage when it's a club side week in, week out. Because when you go to international football, there's always little cliques. There's always people that you get on with more than others, and there's always maybe 1 or 2 that you've had a problem with in the past. that's what squads are all about. And when you turn up for your country, generally you buckle up for the ride and you get on with it. So he's becoming quite some sort of philosopher, isn't he, with these statements? And I think he's making it out to be a wee bit more difficult than it actually is. Thomas Tuchel has to come in. They're going to be playing stronger teams than what Lee Carsley has. That makes it more difficult, or should do. And he's just got to get results. Now, England want results with a bit more panache. We talked about that during the Southgate reign. But if he can get Tuchel, this is England over the line in a World Cup or a Euros, that sort of playing with panache will go out the window because they've had that success. That's the difficult barrier and balance that he has to go over. But England learn nothing. England, with the player pool they have, learn nothing from beating teams like this. That's what I mean. When the boys talked about the French and the France-Italy game, high intensity, better quality players. When Didier Deschamps makes changes, there's no Mbappe, blah, 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 and there's younger players in, he learns something. Because these players are in a high octane, albeit Nations League, are in the San Siro. It's a big clash, France, Italy. There's quality there. It's a proper game. These England players, it's an experience for them. But as a manager, you're not learning a lot because the opposition is subpar. And that's why, Scotland, for example, are in this group with Portugal. They got promoted. They're in the wrong group. You know what I mean? So they're in a group and they're struggling. And England are in a group where they're generally battering everybody. Nobody really learns from that.
And, to Craig's point, and while I get what Harry Kane is trying to say, and he's absolutely right. Culture is a difficult thing to build and pretty easy to kind of break up. The issue with that, certainly in terms of Gareth Southgate, and while I totally get what he's saying, Gareth Southgate did an incredible job in how everybody was kind of brought in and made to feel a part. Culture is about a lot more than just the manager. It's about the players. It's about the administration.
Of course.
And the manager is probably the most fluid of the positions.
Right.
That's the one that kind of chops and changes more than anybody else. As we talk about with club football. You can't sell an entire squad, you get rid of the manager. And so therefore, using the manager or a new manager coming in, or a change of manager in this instance, is not really the big catalyst dismantling of that culture. And as captain, he probably has an even bigger say in maintaining that. So that's on him, and I guess I will put it on him as accepting that responsibility as captain.
Gareth Southgate was never asked about singing the national anthem. Obviously, this is what we're going to get now. This is the kind of level of...
I don't want to go through that. Frank,
no, but I'm just saying that's where the English press are going to go.
We don't need to go down that road.
That's where the English press are going to go.
We don't need to be that. We don't need to go down the national anthem road.
Well, I tell you what.
Tiresome, it's
right, I tell you what. See when it happens.
Yes.
See when it happens.
Yes.
Make sure we damn well don't discuss it in this show.
I promise you. If I'm on, no, I will not ask that question.
Well, that's it. Because if you do, you ain't got an answer.
Frank, what do you think? Do you think Thomas Tuchel will sing the national anthem?
I thought you didn't want to talk about it.
but also, Shaka's right, isn't it? Like, it doesn't matter who the manager is. It's all about the group of players that make this kind of bond that we've been hearing about so much about England.
That's why I don't really understand Kane's comment. I mean, the culture that Southgate brought was more a diplomatical comment in a way that he was taking care of the media, making sure that he had the group, the squad, the national team had a good relationship with the media. But otherwise, it's only depending, as you said, on the players and the acceptance the players make to the coach ideas. And the other hand, the coach has the choice of getting rid of the players because they don't belong to. It's not like they are employees. The coach is stuck with the players, with a group of players. He can change every game, and that's what happened. So he had ideas. He picks the players who go with those ideas. Made a diplomatical agreement, let's say, with the media, and everything worked. Except that, for me, you didn't win anything.
Ah.
So it doesn't work.
Yes, but
so
we got
the
a lovely
result.
bond.
Let me just say
Yeah,
that.
it's a lovely bond, but for what? You are talking about
tell you
England.
what, old Harold,
That's
he's-
England. That's not.
He's a master of
whatever.
cliches at the moment, isn't he? Harry Kane.
Let me just say about Gareth Southgate here, and when he pulled the team off against who was it? Slovenia. When a number of the black players were being racially abused by the crowd, and he took the players off the field. Now I personally know members of that backroom staff, and I know about how the black players and staff felt about how strongly they felt about it, how they felt that Gareth Southgate truly saw, truly recognized and respected some of the issues that they've had to deal with, and that's empowering.
Right.
Now, but going back to Harry Kane's point, I hope that Thomas Tuchel, when he comes in, recognizes those foundations, recognizes exactly what it means to the black players, the black staff, to have that support of, in Gareth Southgate's case, a white manager. If Thomas Tuchel continues recognizing that,